All right, I
For
think we
sure.
could jump into it. We've waited 5 minutes. Thank you so much, Lito, for joining us. I'm, I'm Reka. This is Hannah. We usually host the community events. I'm the founder of Guild XYZ. Hannah is our community lead, and our guest here today is Lito. The Are you growth at Hope Protocol, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And I'll introduce the event a little bit. This is a community stand up format, which we named this because in these events, we usually have admins, moderators, founders, builders of specific guild communities that have been with us for some time or just joined us, but we'd like to hear their story and showcase, how they build their community because maybe it is useful for all of us. We've definitely learned a lot during these sessions in the past. So welcome everyone on today's community stand up. We are dissecting Hub Protocol and how they grow their community, how they manage it, and how they use Guild for that, and what we can help them with that. So that's kind of the intro for the for the event. This is usually a more of like a conversational style. That's why we don't have like a presentation or anything. We just have a little stage. And also a little disclaimer, we are recording the session and uploading it to our YouTube. We're still a little behind with the uploads, but they're coming one after the other, so that you can re-listen if you liked something or didn't understand something, or you know of someone that couldn't come because of time zones or anything but would like to catch up. So let's get into it. Thank you so much, Lito, again for waking up so early. What a true champ.
Yeah,
I think we
welcome.
could get into thanks. We could get into like a slower paced question about you as a person. How did your little Web3 journey? How did you find yourself
Mm.
working with Hop Protocol
Yeah,
and a
good
little like
question.
introduction?
So I like discovered this space in 2017 in the whole ICO mania time, and I was working at PayPal at the time. So like in fintech, and I was obviously interested in all things like finance and technology. And so at PayPal there was like a group of people that were really into crypto, and so I started kind of getting into it myself and discussing it with all of them, and got more and more hooked basically, and decided to leave PayPal and go full time into the space. I was working a few years at like a crypto payment provider that was doing something similar to PayPal actually, but allowing merchants to get paid in crypto instead of just normal fiat like PayPal. And that was like a really good opportunity to just get deeper into the space during the bear market, have a secure job in crypto, but like learn a ton about the space. And then like in 2019 or 20, DeFi became a thing, and I started like that's when I like really really got hooked, much more so than like in 2017, because suddenly there was like a real utility to crypto. Much more so than again in 2017, and so I decided to like create Crypto Testers, which was like an education platform because I wanted to teach more people about what was happening in DeFi, all these emergent kind of new protocols like Maker, Aave, and so on. And I also had a podcast in that context, and one of my guests was actually Chris Winfrey, who just joined, and because he was building a wallet called Ethereum, which was a smart contract wallet, and I was really really bullish on these type of wallets because they abstract away all the complexities of key management and paying gas and so on, and so I had him on as a guest, and we sort of stayed in touch, and I gave him sometimes feedback on the wallet, new features and so on, and then 2021 I'd like to say, he reached back out to me and was like, we're actually like pivoting away from this wallet and building this bridge protocol. And yeah, do you want to like help us kind of do growth and build a community? And then I was like, super keen, sold on the idea of the bridge, and jumped on board. And maybe Chris can say a bit more about how he got the idea of building a bridge, because there's also a story to it.
Yeah, thanks a ton for having us. It's great to be here. And yeah, I guess I could kind of start back at my beginning too, Lito. And so I kind of got started with Ethereum like shortly after I graduated. Ended up living with some people that introduced me to it, and just kind of went down the rabbit hole. Got really obsessed. Was talking everyone's ear off about it to the point of being pretty annoying, I think. And at some point, I moved out to Boston and started a dev shop called Level K. And so we were kind of doing grant projects for different different Ethereum projects, as well as doing consulting work. We were kind of like doing DAO experiments. This was like pre-Moloch at the time, which I think is like the first DAO that got real traction besides the DAO. And we're doing stuff with like Futarchy, which is like this interesting governance concept that involves prediction markets, and then ended up doing auditing. But we really wanted to build products. So eventually we kind of spun the auditing business out of the consulting practice and started building Ethereum. And so, yeah, that's where Lito and I met. And, what we saw was, during DeFi summer, gas prices just went through the roof. It was super expensive just to deploy this contract-based account. And all of these new users that we were, building for, because we're trying to build this very, easy Web2-like wallet that a user could that was new to crypto could kind of jump in and start using. All of those users just got completely priced out during DeFi summer. And so we started looking to layer 2 because it was clear to us that, if we were going to onboard these mainstream users, it had to be on layer 2. But then if they needed to kind of come back to layer 1 to switch layer 2s, then that was just a deal breaker, because then they had to deploy the contract-based account, and we're back to being too expensive. So that's kind of, Hop was born out of necessity for that problem, but then we realized it could be, a bit bigger than that. And, it's also clear that Lito is, one of the best community builders in the space. We were super impressed by all the work he was doing, building the crypto testers community and everything. So, the rest is history from there.
How many do you have on your team right now, or how is that structured? Because our structure is kind of like, we do have the core guild team. We are fortunate enough to be mostly located in Hungary and have an office. And then we do have some remote help, but the majority still of the development and everything is going on in the core team. And then there's like our own like full online community that you guys are seeing right now, or at least a bigger, more cool chunk of it. So how does that come together with you?
So the core Hop team. Oh, go ahead, Lito.
I was just going to say, just a heads up, you'll be very surprised when you hear the amount of people that work at Hub.
Yes, there's just 4 of us. And
wow, okay.
Yeah, and so in terms of development, we're all based in Los Angeles. So with Lito, we coordinate pretty well and are spread out globally. But as far as like the development goes, we're all here in Los Angeles and do get together. That does end up being important when you're trying to figure out some of the tougher engineering issues.
That's so crazy. I think that's probably one of the smallest teams. When did you guys like kickstart Hop? Like specifically, like from this point on, because it was kind of a pivot. But when can we say Hop was born?
We released a demo and the white paper in January 2021. So almost 2 years ago.
Okay. That's nice. Okay. Love a lean structure. I think maybe still we could talk a little bit about more Hop's mission and what are you guys, long term, what are you guys working towards? What are you solving? How is this saving the planet, what you're doing, in your view?
So, I could give the very brief high level, and then let you take it from there. But yeah, like ultimately, with the DAO, we are aiming to build trustless bridge infrastructure. So what we see is that Ethereum is scaling on rollups, and we see a very Ethereum centric future for just blockchain in general. And if Ethereum is going to scale on rollups, we want also the bridges between these rollups to share the full economic security of Ethereum, and for the bridges that do kind of have that security model to win out over like more centralized bridges that use multi-sigs and stuff. So I would say that is really our core mission.
Okay, I love that. Anything to
Yeah.
add, Vito?
Yeah, I think, I mean, yeah, it's pretty much all said by Chris. Definitely, I would say like we have the biggest emphasis on security and trustlessness among the bridges in the space. And I think this term has kind of been thrown around by a lot of bridges before, which is makes it sometimes a bit harder to explain to people how you are actually trustless, because then users saw that some of these bridges that claim to be trustless actually weren't trustless, because suddenly their funds were stuck in I don't know, very very volatile times, and or they got hacked or something like this. So at Hop, how this bridge is built is it's actually super secure, and this is also one of the reasons why we're very focused on the Ethereum space, because only in this kind of ecosystem we can actually deliver this type of high level security, and that's why we're so focused on it, instead of like expanding to many chains, which obviously we'd like to, but it's just not possible with the same type of security model. And so I would say really that's a big differentiator with other bridges, that we're so focused on security. And I think Chris's background and the other co-founders, Shane and Miguel's background in auditing definitely plays a big role in that as well, where just security is always like really at the comes top before everything else, basically.
So security first. What is second for your values?
I would say trustless and decentralization are right up there with security, and they go hand in hand too. Ultimately, the trustless and decentralized bridges, I think, are far more secure than their more centralized counterparts.
Absolutely. And I think there's one more like really nice adjective that we could dig into. I don't know if this is considered a value or it's just something that you use to describe Hop with, but you like multiple places that I could find, you describe your bridge infrastructure as community owned. How should we imagine that? So does that just mean a token, or is there something deeper to it? How does this work for you specifically?
Chris, do you want to take this one? Okay.
Nope.
Okay. So I think it's many things really, right? But I think Hop was really founded with the idea of creating a public utility, a bit like ENS is a public utility, right? It's the founders of ENS, they weren't thinking like, how can we make as much money as possible or something. They were really like, okay, let's create a sort of public infrastructure for naming, and we think that bridging is gonna be, you know, as important as you know, ENS and maybe in crypto and like, I don't know, public roads in the off-chain world. People are gonna need to bridge a whole lot, and this kind of infrastructure is best not sort of controlled by, you know, a few key individuals. And so, yeah, for us, it was really clear from the get-go that this would need to be, you know, driven by the Ethereum community. And I think, you know, what it means kind of, you know, technically is that you know, this bridge is controlled by a DAO. And so yeah, this DAO, like we really spend a whole lot of effort of sort of distributing the token ownership as broadly as possible. We spent a whole lot of time in you know, kind of, yeah, this airdrop distribution mechanism. Chris and the other founders came up with a mechanism that is now you know, quite famous, I would say, in crypto. It's been used by Optimism afterwards, by Gnosis, and I believe one other, but I forgot right now. And it's basically just to weed out as many sort of airdrop farmers as possible, which is quite hard nowadays. But yeah, we really wanted to get the token out kind of to the right people, and yeah, also not make it just based on, like, you know, how much money you provided into the, you know, into the pools. So not just to LPs, which would have been the easy way because it's, you know, harder to kind of game, but really just also to people who have maybe, you know, sent a couple of dollars through the bridge one or two times, two times, because yeah, we wanted like everyone to have a stake in this project and a vote. And then, you know, so that's one thing, right? Like the token distribution, but then it's also decisions such as kind of how the DAO is structured. Like we see Hop Labs where kind of I work and Chris works and so on, really just as a service provider to the DAO. And, you know, one thing that makes me really proud is, you know, we could have done, I think, like very, very huge raises in you know, the bull market, but we intentionally avoided that because you know, like the thinking, and I think that's right, is that like when you do big raises as a you know, centralized team, pre-token launch, pre-DAO launch, you're effectively concentrating the power into that one centralized team, right? Imagine we had raised like 20 million or something as Hop Labs before the DAO launch, and then then the DAO would have launched, and we'd sort of have like 20 million in the bank, and we'd be fine even if the community like kind of didn't endorse us because, you know, the next 12 months we'd be lazy and not do anything, or we do the wrong things. There's no sort of accountability, right? We have 20 million, we have you know, run rate for the next 10 years or something, and the way we've done it basically say, okay, like we're gonna stay like as lean as possible, launch a DAO, and then the DAO is gonna do a raise, and because we want to like concentrate as much power into the DAO as possible, and then once you know, the DAO has eventually some funds, we're just gonna be like a service provider, and we're gonna need to apply for money from the DAO just like anyone else, just like, you know, some solo dev who wants to build something on top of the Hop protocol, and just like, you know, another company that also wants to build something, and that's how you, I think, build like a real, you know, public infrastructure that many people can kind of trust and rely upon and build upon, because they don't need to fear that, you know, like one team is in control and kind of will interfere with whatever they want to do. So I think
mindset, by the way, little just and would like to just chime in a little bit here and tell everyone that, like, Hop protocol token is actually live. So like, just as the protocol is like fully permissionless, like anyone can invest in the future of Hop protocol today. So I know that like you're like very humble, and the entire team is like I really love your approach, really. But like yeah, it's important to mention that like the entire protocol and the entire DAO is out in the public already.
Thanks, Raz. Yeah, I really like what you guys are doing as well. Yeah, it's nice to work together.
And also, like another important thing that I wanted to ask and then also mention to the audience is that like you had one of the best months in October and November, and especially in November, like recently. Like, do you know what's the reason behind the increased like volume and TVL in the protocol?
Chris, do you want to take that one?
No, go for it.
Yeah, it was definitely a good month. I don't know if it was the best month actually. I really sort of looked more at the previous months when I compared traction, but it was definitely a good month, especially when you look at where we're at as an industry with just overall. I think it's fair to call it like a bear market. So it's nice to see that kind of traction. I mean, generally, I think, yeah, like even in like L2 adoption is continuing. Even in the bear market, we've seen L2s are growing actually as one of the only networks, because many other ones are actually like shrinking, losing a lot of TVL, but the L2s are continuing to grow, which is kind of nice to see. And so yeah, there continues to be like bridging needs, right? I do also think that we launched a liquidity mining campaign, the first liquidity mining campaign of since Hub launched. We never had any type of incentivized liquidity before, at least not with the Hub token as a reward token, and so this kind of attracted a lot of new liquidity in the protocol, and I think it allowed us to attract or service larger transfers, offering better rates for these type of large transfers, because that's kind of correlated with TVL to some degree at least. So I think some of that volume is perhaps tied to the to that liquidity mining campaign. It's always hard to kind of attribute or correlate things 100%, but we can only kind of guess. And I think in general, kind of people like the UI UX of Hop, and I think we have a good retention. Once someone uses Hop, I've rarely heard that they afterwards switch to another bridge, because they just really enjoy the user experience and the brand, and kind of I often see on Twitter one like comparison that I really love to see, because it's quite just it's just nice. It's like people just like say, yeah, I've used Hub for the first time, and it really reminds me of when I used Uniswap for the first time. And I think it's maybe like the kind of is not, I wouldn't say similar UI, but there's definitely some similarities, and just the simplicity of it. And yeah, I think that's really kind of telling for what people think when they use Hub, and it just kind of it does what it promises to do, namely it gives you tokens on another chain in the amount of time it promises to do, and there's no bad surprises.
And for me as a DeFi investor, like the yields on Hop protocol are also very attractive. So like still the pools generate a bunch of rewards, and on top of that you as you mentioned, like you distribute the Hop token as well. So great stuff.
Yeah, I think these LP pools are quite attractive because it's in when you provide kind of liquidity on I don't know, ETH and USDC on Uniswap, you face this kind of impermanent loss, right?
Yep.
Which is a term that you often hear in DeFi. It's like kind of just an economic loss if these prices of these two tokens diverge a lot, and you can end up with less than what you initially provided in dollar terms. And like
Actually.
yeah, and then like in Hop, that's not the case, right? You just provide liquidity in one asset, namely, for example, just ETH or just USDC, and then you pull out the same amount plus any interest that you've accrued from trading fees or bridge fees and the Hop token rewards. So there's kind of no bad surprises again on that side.
Yeah.
It's easier for users to reason about.
Just to also like a little bit talk about the numbers here, is that like currently on Hop protocol, like providing ETH on Polygon, for example, gives you like around like an estimated like 20% API. And on top of that, like people like providers also get like almost like 10% reward from the DAO, like in Hop tokens. So that's pretty attractive, and especially with the given circumstances.
Agree.
Absolutely.
Another thing to add. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
So another thing I'll add about the Hop pools is the Hop security model is very, very different than a lot of other bridges out there. And what you'll see is like the yields end up being, fairly similar, but from a security perspective, I think you're much better off LPing with Hop. And the reason for that is because we use this hub and spoke model, and that allows us to kind of like isolate the liability of a given network to just the users of that network. So if you're LPing in the Hop bridge on Optimism and something goes wrong with Gnosis Chain or with Polygon, then you're still safe. And that's not true for like pretty much every other bridge out there. So kind of the trust model for the Hop LP pools ends up being a lot closer to any other application on that layer 2, because you kind of have the risk assumption of the native bridge, you have the risk assumption of the smart contracts, but that's it. And so I hope that LPs start to see this and start to see, Hop is differentiated from a lot of these more risky bridges.
And I think investors can see this definitely. Like that's at least like according to the historical data. Like even though given the current circumstances and like the collapsing of the entire industry as like crypto, but also like DeFi is struggling. Like everyone is searching for the yield and the real yield, and like everybody is like most DeFi founders I know are like really struggling right now. And meanwhile, like Hop protocol is rising in TVL, and the risk reward is very reasonable here. But go ahead, Rika.
It's a good showcase of the values. The first one being security coming in handy and actually translating into the users choosing it even in hard times. By the way, I don't think crypto as an industry is collapsing. It is definitely not a good time right now, but I don't think that might be a little bit of an overstatement. I think now we know what you guys are doing and how you're helping the whole like DeFi section of the crypto world. I'd like to talk a little bit about your community, because from what I've seen from the guild side, you are extremely experimentative. You try a lot of new things, a lot of new protocols, projects, engagement types, everything. You've been super early on guild as well. I think the crypto testers community probably came, I don't know actually, but like a really long time ago, like when we had, I think, less than 10,000 users or around that time, which was probably like early this year. And also with Hop Protocol, if you guys go on Hop Protocol's guild right now, we can link it into the secret chamber so you can do it easily. There's so many like there's only one reward, the Discord, but there's 10 different roles. And if you look at the types of requirements for those roles, it's so diverse. You guys use like Galaxy campaigns, different quests, you use pull apps, you use the Twitter requirement to follow Hot Protocol and support and socials, but there's so many different projects, and I'd like to know what is your experience with these, what has been your recent favorite engagement or activation strategy or events that you did, and if you'd like to share with us how that went down, so that maybe someone in the community who also has their own little group can learn from that. And also, I'd like to know what's next. So, favorite thing that you did recently for engagement and community activation, and then what is next that you're looking into trying or doing.
And when you say,
So,
oh, sorry, you go.
So I would love to add a little bit to what it means for us to be community owned, and then let you take it away in terms of how we think about engaging with the community and the community itself. And so I think Lito did a great job of kind of covering everything that we've done towards being community owned. But I just wanted to add, like, the way we kind of think about this is, who is the community? Who are the stakeholders and the way we see this is we have our liquidity providers, we have our bridge users, we have contributors, and then we also, we built Hop to be, this piece of core Ethereum infrastructure, and so we consider, also the broader Ethereum community as very important to the Hop community, and the alignment between these communities as also being very important, and so. When you look at kind of the decisions we've made, like Lito mentioned with the fundraise, and for example, doing all of the work to eliminate Sybils so that the token could get distributed to the initial bridge users, to the initial liquidity providers, and then now with the liquidity mining program, we have more tokens going to liquidity providers. Recently, the DAO passed a proposal to start a grants program, so we'll have more Hop token going towards contributors, and kind of the end state that we're going for is one where all of these different stakeholders have a say in the protocol, that there are checks and balances between these different participants, and also that these participants collectively are very aligned with the broader Ethereum ecosystem, and that Hop is this very positive sum application that exists among Ethereum applications. So yeah, that's kind of how we think about community owned, and how a lot of these decisions about what we do with the token or how we engage with the community are made, and now these decisions are obviously made with the broader DAO as well.
And go ahead, Peter. I think the token holders are like every token holder is also a community member, like an active community member, or there's definitely drop off. I don't think I've seen any community where every token holder participated. So there's definitely No, go ahead.
Yeah, there's definitely truth there, and it's something that we're constantly thinking about. Is how do we get token holders who aren't engaged in the community engaged with the community? How do we get? We have a lot of folks that are engaged with the community but don't necessarily have a stake in the network. So how do we get get them a stake in the network? And so like a lot of these kind of programs that are distributing tokens and doing things like that, they're all based around, okay, like how do we get tokens into the hands of the important stakeholders of the network?
I have one question actually about your approach of building your community regarding to everything that we were discussing here, all the layers you have and all the different structures. My question is, what are the biggest challenges you ever faced or are currently facing while building your community?
So I think, yeah, like you mentioned, like you just kind of alluded to, there is a lot of layers to this protocol, like a lot of there's a lot of complexity to it in a way. Maybe less so for technical people, but definitely to the average user. And I think maybe if you just want to send tokens from one chain to another, and if you've used crypto before, it should be fairly intuitive. So just using to just use it, but then like to actually understand what's happening under the hood, that's more difficult. And I think for us, like one of the big challenges was to educate our community about how this protocol works on a technical level, because we believe that for community members to get involved, so not to just be users but actually community members, and get involved, weigh in on governance decisions and stuff, they like a fair degree of understanding of the protocol is needed. That's where you stop kind of being just like a product, but also you really need to teach people about how it works in the background. So I think that's something we kind of focused a lot on early on. Just putting a lot of care into writing good docs, and Chris wrote a really nice white paper at the very beginning, and then which was one of the few white papers I was actually able to understand as a non-developer. But then also like I then tried to write a lot of Twitter threads or YouTube videos, really just going like on and on about like how this works under the hood. And I think that you really can't you cannot over educate people in crypto. Like there's like every time I think I repeat something about Hop, there's like someone in the community that hears this for the first time and learns a ton from it. So I think we've it's not that we've struggled with education. I wouldn't say, because your question initially was about like struggles, but it's definitely like an area where we're just like constantly pushing. And actually Guild, because you were also asking about like how Guild has helped, like we actually had like one quiz that we created on I think 101 XYZ that you've also integrated into Guild. And so we actually kind of like gamified learning about the protocol by completing this quiz on 101, and then this would give you an NFT, and then like I think the role is called I can't remember. Well, yeah, intro to Hop or Hop 101, and then once you completed that role, that quiz, you would get a role through Git.xyz, and we're even thinking, at some point, but this is like it's not decided at all. But like you could kind of it's something really cool about Guild. You could, for example, I don't know, gate the governance channel with Guild to only people who've completed that Hop 101, with the thinking, you really want people to understand at least the basics before they say something about governance or something. So that's just like a long ramble just to answer sort of your question about what we like about Guild.
Just leaking a little bit alpha here. Like we like to leak alpha every week during these calls. So like we work with the Snapshot team, and we want to bring governance closer to where communities live. So like there is an idea to like somehow implement the existing like essentially like Snapshot, but like inside Discord. And we already built a similar application earlier this year, but without the Snapshot integration, and we would like to like rework it and in a way that already supports like the existing governance structure and like historically like all the decisions, and also like you can continue making the decisions inside a channel or like a token gated channel essentially.
So wait,
By the way, the role.
you
Go
can.
ahead.
I'm not sure I quite understood that. You can vote from within Discord channels. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the idea, but like we're still working out the exact details around the abstract, like the wallet abstraction. So like, what's the most secure and like the best, like practically the best way to do this?
Interesting. Okay, cool. I guess the idea being that you connect your wallet once to your guild account and sign a message or whatever, and then you can then complete other actions without actually using your wallet, and just use it from within like Web2 apps like Discord and Twitter.
Essentially, yeah, that's the idea, but we probably have to do like a few steps further, because we also want to, and like another alpha here, we also want to do this for like issuing verifiable credentials inside the chat group. So like saying thank you to someone could generate like a verifiable credential from one person to another, and that also requires like some cryptography to happen. So like another idea is to essentially like aggregate these, and like you can do many actions inside or like on the Web2 platform, and then eventually just go to guild and like do all the signing together like in an aggregated form. So like there are multiple ideas that we can like approach these kind of things, but like the point is that I really want to bring governance closer where these communities actually live, because like we've seen a huge how do you call it, Reka? Like a I don't remember the word. So like essentially like people don't convert from from a chat group to governance very often. Like maybe there is like a churn. Yeah, churn. So the churn is huge with these kind of decision making processes. Even with Snapshot, although like Snapshot is very user friendly relatively what we had before Snapshot.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense actually. Yeah, I mean we'd be happy first users of that feature. Just like everything else you're rolling out. Sounds super cool.
Love that. Thank you. We kind of digressed. I still really want to know what you enjoyed most out of all the different campaigns, engagement things that you did so far, and what you're looking to do next. I think that's super valuable. Like you're a really, really curious, experimentative person in this field. So we'll definitely want to hear about that as well.
Yeah. So in general, also to your comment about us being one of the first projects to use Guild, I think we really like to experiment with new kind of Web3 tools, especially in the kind of DAO tooling area, because we are a DAO and we actually have a lot of needs and problems. So like when there's like great new tooling that comes out, we like to be kind of playing with that and seeing if that actually helps us. And with Guild it really did. For me, like one of the problems that I experienced was like we were using so many different bots, and I told that to Raz, like we were using so many different bots in our Discord, and they were all kind of often built by Web2 companies, sometimes not, but like they're all kind of just performing one single task, and not built for like DAOs specifically often. Because they were just built around like one single use case, and so it was just a mess, like installing all these different bots, and I had so much anxiety as well because there's like with every bot you kind of install, you create a new attack surface almost. You had all these Discord hacks, which often were due to like bot vulnerabilities, and so yeah, all of these different bots that I had to install in our Discord gave me a lot of stress. And so when I saw Guild, I was like, okay, here we have like one project that's really built around this use case of DAOs and making Discord management, but also other things much easier. And for example, like the bot for capture when you enter to kind of verify yourself, or the bot to react to emojis, or the bot for gatekeeping certain channels, or the color blend to give roles based on on-chain attributes. Like this all kind of like was all just replaced by Guild, and yeah, so I had to like I could disinstall the other ones, and frankly that was like the biggest reason we went with Guild, and also obviously like knowing that there's like a company behind that is just gonna continue to build features with like DAOs in mind. You can kind of rest assured that there'll be like good things coming out, and yeah, that's what we see on a monthly basis. There's like new integrations with like for example this 101 XYZ thing that I mentioned earlier, with this learning academy, like Web3 Udemy or whatever you want to call it, but so many other integrations with Snapshot like you just mentioned and so on. So that makes it really interesting. And to answer your question, Hannah, about the favorite campaign, I do think it was the quiz, the 101 course about Hop that I thought was like a success. It was completed by an insane amount of people. Almost, it's almost like the number makes me think almost like it can't be real. It was like 150,000 or 200,000 or something. But there was definitely among these 150 or 200,000, there was definitely also a lot of actual people that completed it and learned a lot about Hop, and confirmed that in Discord and whatever, and Twitter tweeted about it. And then I also do like, oh yeah, actually I really do like the Twitter integration where users can put like some emoji in their bio to get a role. And so for us, I was like the Hop Bunny. And when I see random people on Twitter with the Hop Bunny, it's definitely also like always a pleasure. So that's definitely also like one of my favorite features of Guild. And then in terms of like new features, I just like this is definitely not the most interesting one. I'm sure you can think of much better ones, but I was thinking the other day, if you could like if we have an announcement that we just made on Twitter or something, let's say our monthly recap, and we want to get a lot of eyeballs on it. Like maybe that you could like create like a role based on like retweeting a certain tweet or something, or maybe there was like a point system where that would be cool if Guild was introducing some like point system or something like within a certain guild or community, like Hop in that sense, and kind of if we could, because people have the Twitter account connected, right? If we could sort of if people could get like points based on like how often they share like Hop updates on Twitter and stuff like this, that could be super fun in my opinion.
So like more engagement tracking essentially, and leaderboard, and kind of deeper into the engagement area. I really like that. I think we do have the Twitter So like getting it from the Twitter API, if a person has liked and shared and commented on a post, I think that's in the pipeline. The other that you mentioned about getting different points for different activities and keeping track of these leaderboards and happenings and events is probably further out. We haven't planned that out yet. It also gives the product a little bit of a different feel, which might be really good. So thanks so much for mentioning that. I wanted to ask if you guys use POAPs at all in your events.
Yeah, we do actually. Yeah, we've started pretty much since our first community call that we do on a bi-weekly basis, and yeah, we really like them, and we actually also distribute them through Guild.
That's what I wanted to say, that it's also like a really good move to use that integration, and you guys are also acing that. And kind of like it was more of like a I wanted to talk about this because I've already digged through your Guild page and saw everything that you're doing, and the community call attender role that you have with all the POAPs from day one is already on there. So I think for closing, because coming around the hour, any any call to action that you might have, or how we can learn more about Hop or join the community, what would you like us to support you with?
I mean, you already support us very well, but just continuing to build a cool product. But
Aw.
yeah, I mean, you guys really have a huge community, and yeah, like congrats on that. I would, yeah, I mean, I would just like invite everyone here to hop over into our Discord and just hang out there. I think it's a great forum to kind of get a feel for everything that's happening in the hop ecosystem. Kind of votes are posted in there, and forum updates are posted in there, and just obviously discussions are happening in there. So you'll kind of just get a good feeling for all the things that are happening, and how to get involved basically. So yeah, that would be my only call to action. And if you haven't used Hop, definitely try it out. It's a very nice experience. App.hop.exchange, and just try sending money to a layer 2, and just stay on layer 2 because that's the way.
I like that. Stay on layer 2 because that's the way. That's a good line to kind of end things. Hannah, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Of course, since we were talking about POAPs, I just want to say thank you for everyone for coming here and listening while we were talking.